Ages 75 to 85. If you still do these 6 things, you're truly one of a kind. Good morning. Prepare to be surprised by a perspective that directly challenges the conventional medical advice often given to seniors. For decades, the prevailing wisdom has been to encourage older adults to slow down, take it easy, and accept the inevitable physical and cognitive decline associated with aging. However, a wealth of cutting-edge research emerging over the last 10 years paints a dramatically different picture. What if the very habits that allow individuals to remain sharp, strong, and independent well into their late 70s, 80s, and even 85 are not found in the sterile environment of a doctor's office or in expensive supplements, but rather in the seemingly simple, yet often abandoned, daily routines of remarkably well-aging individuals? I am Dr. William, and in my more than 20 years of dedicated work with patients in the 75 to 85 age bracket, I've witnessed firsthand what scientific inquiry is only now beginning to validate. The individuals who navigate these later years with exceptional grace and vitality, those who still confidently drive themselves to appointments, who actively tend their gardens, who can recall every grandchild's birthday without needing to consult a calendar, they all share a distinct and consistent set of behaviors. These are not costly interventions, but rather actionable daily practices. A pivotal study conducted by the Stanford Center on Longevity meticulously followed over 4,200 adults between the ages of 70 and 90 for an impressive 12-year duration. The findings were nothing short of striking. The research revealed that participants who actively maintained as few as 4 of a specific set of daily habits were an astonishing 61% less likely to experience what scientists refer to as accelerated functional decline. This decline signifies a rapid loss of independence that, regrettably, propels many seniors into assisted living facilities far sooner than is biologically or psychologically necessary. A 61% reduction is not a minor statistical blip. It represents the profound difference between living life on one's own terms and having one's daily existence dictated by the schedules and limitations imposed by others. Before we delve deeper into the specifics, I want to offer a small preview, an enticement to remain engaged, as I understand the temptation to fast forward. The paramount habit on this list, the single most impactful of all 6, is something that is rarely, if ever, discussed. It bears no relation to conventional dieting or exercise. In fact, it's so overlooked that even many cardiologists fail to mention it. Yet, burgeoning research from esteemed institutions like Johns Hopkins and the University of Edinburgh strongly suggests that this one practice may be the most significant predictor of sustained cognitive and physical independence beyond the age of 75. Therefore, I implore you to stay with me until the very end, as understanding this single habit could fundamentally transform your approach to the remainder of your life. But before we embark on this countdown, I'd like to pose a personal question to you. Please, take a moment to share your current age in the comments below, whether you are 68, 74, 81, or any age in between, and indicate which of these habits you believe you already consistently practice. Every single comment on this channel receives my personal attention. This community represents everything to me, and your individual experiences and insights are invaluable. So please, leave your thoughts in the comments section and let us engage in a truly meaningful conversation. Now, let us begin our countdown, starting from number 6 and progressing to number 1, with a habit that might sound almost too simple to be genuinely life-altering, yet the scientific underpinnings are remarkably complex and profound. Number 6, strategic water consumption, not mere hydration. A significant number of individuals, particularly those over the age of 75, misunderstand the fundamental principles of hydration. They assume that the body's needs remain identical to those experienced in their mid-40s, a notion that is entirely inaccurate. As we age, and specifically after our 70th birthday, our kidneys experience a substantial reduction in their filtering efficiency, often by as much as 40%. Simultaneously, the body's natural thirst signals become considerably blunted, meaning that individuals may genuinely fail to perceive thirst, even when they are significantly dehydrated. Furthermore, the blood's capacity to transport vital oxygen and essential nutrients to both the muscles and the brain diminishes considerably with every percentage point of fluid loss. To visualize this, consider your bloodstream as a sophisticated delivery system, akin to a river. When this river's flow diminishes, the delivery vehicles, the blood cells, begin to slow down. Packages of oxygen and nutrients may be lost, and the entire operational network starts to falter. This is precisely the detrimental impact that chronic, mild dehydration inflicts upon the aging body. Compelling research from the European Journal of Nutrition, which examined over 3,500 adults aged 70 and above, indicated that those who diligently maintained consistent daily hydration exceeding 1.8 liters demonstrated a remarkable 38% lower incidence of urinary tract infections. Additionally, they experienced a 29% reduction in falls, a direct consequence of dehydration's significant impairment of balance and reaction time. Moreover, these individuals consistently achieved significantly superior scores on short-term memory assessments. The brain itself is composed of approximately 75% water. Even a modest 2% decrease in overall hydration can lead to measurable cognitive impairment at any age. However, after the age of 75, this effect is markedly amplified because the brain's inherent compensatory mechanisms are already working overtime simply to maintain baseline functionality. The key differentiator that transforms this into a habit for exceptionally well-aging seniors lies in their approach. They do not merely drink water when they happen to remember. Instead, they make it a priority to consume 12 to 16 ounces of water immediately upon waking in the morning, preceding their coffee, their breakfast, or any other morning ritual. This practice is crucial because the body naturally loses fluids throughout the night via respiration and minor perspiration. And critically, after the age of 75, the overnight fluid deficit is typically about 30% greater than it was during one's midlife years. Following this initial morning intake, these individuals continue to drink a small glass of water with each meal and another mid-afternoon. A particularly effective synergistic strategy involves pairing your morning water consumption with a small quantity of sodium. It is important to note that this is not referring to standard table salt, but rather a pinch of high-quality sea salt or a well-formulated electrolyte tablet. The reason for this recommendation is that after 75, the kidneys exhibit a diminished capacity to retain sodium. Without adequate sodium, plain water can pass through the system without being fully absorbed into the cells where it is critically needed for optimal function. Consider the case of Margaret, an 81-year-old woman from Boise, Idaho, who sought my counsel complaining of persistent afternoon brain fog, a disconcerting dizziness upon standing, and what she described as her thoughts feeling wrapped in cotton. She was not acutely dehydrated in a dramatic sense, rather, she was chronically, mildly underhydrated. By implementing a single, strategic change, correctly timed hydration with the addition of a small amount of electrolytes in the morning, remarkable improvements were observed. Within 6 weeks, Margaret reported that it felt as if someone had cleaned the windows of her mind. Her balance significantly improved, and her afternoon fatigue diminished considerably. This single habit yielded life-changing results. Number 5. Resistance-based movement at least twice per week. It is imperative to clarify a frequently misunderstood concept. When I speak of resistance-based movement, I am unequivocally not advocating for strenuous weightlifting sessions in a gym. Instead, I am referring to any physical activity that requires your muscles to exert force against an external resistance. This could encompass the use of resistance bands, light dumbbells, performing wall push-ups, or even the purposeful act of carrying grocery bags. This distinction is of immense importance for individuals over the age of 75 due to a physiological process known as anabolic resistance. To elucidate this, anabolic resistance refers to the diminished ability of aging muscle cells to effectively respond to the combined stimuli of protein, intake, and exercise. In practical terms, this means that after 75, your body requires a more potent and intentional stimulus, more resistance, to preserve the same amount of muscle mass that a 50-year-old individual might maintain with significantly less effort. Your muscles are not inherently indolent. They are simply more challenging to activate. If these muscles are not consistently engaged with adequate resistance, they begin to undergo a process called sarcopenia, which is characterized by the progressive loss of muscle mass and strength. Research from the Mayo Clinic has unequivocally linked sarcopenia to a 47% increased risk of falls, a 53% higher likelihood of being unable to perform essential daily tasks within a 5-year period, and a demonstrably shortened overall lifespan. A comprehensive study conducted at Tufts University tracked adults between the ages of 75 and 85 who initiated a regimen of resistance training twice weekly. Astonishingly, after just 10 weeks, participants exhibited an average increase of 37% in leg strength and a 28% improvement in balance scores. Perhaps most surprisingly to many, these individuals also showed a measurable enhancement in insulin sensitivity, a factor that directly influences energy levels, inflammation, and cognitive function. The mitochondria within your muscle cells, which serve as the body's primary energy producers, demonstrate a significantly more efficient regenerative capacity when resistance exercise is incorporated into the routine. Therefore, you are not merely building muscle, you are fundamentally rebuilding the entire energy infrastructure of your body. The practical recommendation is straightforward. Engage in 2 to 3 resistance training sessions per week, each lasting between 20 to 30 minutes, with a focus on the major muscle groups, including the legs, hips, and back. Resistance bands are particularly advantageous for seniors, as they offer progressive resistance without placing undue stress on the joints. A crucial synergistic tip involves performing your resistance training session within 30 minutes of consuming 25 to 30 grams of protein. This is because, after the age of 75, the anabolic window, the period during which your muscles are most receptive to protein for repair and synthesis, is significantly shorter and less forgiving than in younger adults. At this stage of life, timing is not a suggestion, it is an absolute necessity. Number 4. Maintaining a consistent, purposeful sleep schedule. Before we proceed, if you are finding value in this video, if you are gaining insights that you wish you had possessed years ago, please take a single second right now to click the subscribe button. And if you know someone between the ages of 70 and 90 who could benefit from this vital information, please share this video with them today. I emphasize this because the fundamental purpose of this channel is to equip seniors with the science-backed truths that are often too extensive to be covered adequately during brief medical appointments. Now, let us return to the critical topic of sleep, a subject that is far more intricate than simply retiring to bed at an early hour. After the age of 75, your circadian rhythm, the body's intrinsic 24-hour internal clock, undergoes a significant shift and a critical weakening. Your brain produces approximately 70% less melatonin, the hormone crucial for regulating sleep, compared to what it did at age 30. Furthermore, your slow-wave sleep, the deepest and most physically restorative phase of sleep, decreases by as much as 80% from its levels in your 30s. This slow-wave sleep phase is precisely when human growth hormone is released, a hormone vital for cellular repair, immune function, and the maintenance of muscle mass. What many individuals fail to comprehend is that poor sleep after 75 is not solely characterized by feeling fatigued. A comprehensive study originating from the University of California, Berkeley, revealed that adults over 70 with disrupted sleep patterns exhibited a 68% greater accumulation of amyloid plaques in their brains, the very same plaques that are intrinsically linked to Alzheimer's disease. The seniors who excel in this area do not merely sleep for longer durations, they prioritize consistency. They adhere to a sleep schedule where they retire to bed within the same 30-minute window each night and awaken at the identical time each morning, including weekends. They meticulously maintain their bedroom temperature between a cool 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit, because after 75, the body's ability to regulate temperature during sleep becomes less efficient. A cooler sleep environment is instrumental in facilitating the deep sleep that the brain so desperately requires. Moreover, they conscientiously avoid engaging with screens for at least 60 minutes prior to bedtime. This recommendation extends beyond the mere issue of blue light exposure. It is because mental stimulation, regardless of the source, keeps the prefrontal cortex overly active, which, according to research from Harvard Medical School, can delay sleep onset by an average of 47 minutes in adults over 70. A highly effective synergistic tip is to pair your consistent sleep schedule with 10 minutes of slow, diaphragmatic breathing exercises before retiring. This practice powerfully activates the parasympathetic nervous system, often referred to as the body's rest and repair mode. Scientific evidence indicates that this type of breathing can reduce nighttime cortisol levels by up to 22%, making it significantly easier for aging adults to achieve and sustain the restorative slow-wave sleep. Number 3, eating protein in a deliberate, distributed pattern. This particular aspect of nutrition is where I encounter the most perilous misconceptions among seniors, and as a physician, it is a source of genuine concern. The notion that one requires less protein as they age is not merely incorrect. It may very well be one of the most detrimental pieces of nutritional folklore ever perpetuated. In reality, the precise opposite is true. After the age of 75, and owing to the anabolic resistance previously discussed, your body actually demands 50 to 75% more dietary protein per pound of body weight than a healthy 30-year-old would need to achieve the same degree of muscle maintenance. Yet, the majority of seniors I encounter consume only half the protein they require. This deficit is often attributable to a natural decrease in appetite with age, coupled with the perceived ease of preparation and consumption of high-carbohydrate foods. Research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, which analyzed data from over 2,700 adults aged 70 to 85, found that individuals who consumed at least 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight daily, distributed across 3 or more meals, were able to maintain significantly more muscle mass. They also experienced 41% lower rates of hospitalization due to fall-related injuries and demonstrated markedly better immune responses to common infections such as influenza and pneumonia. Visualize protein as the fundamental building blocks your body utilizes for repair and regeneration, particularly during the overnight hours. Every night, while you sleep, your body actively breaks down old and damaged tissues and replaces them with new ones. Without an adequate supply of these bricks, without sufficient protein, reconstruction process is inevitably incomplete. Over the course of months and years, this structural deficit can escalate into a catastrophic decline. The practical and effective approach involves aiming for 25 to 35 grams of protein at each of your 3 main meals. This equates to approximately 4 to 5 ounces of protein sources like chicken, fish, eggs, Greek yogurt, or legumes per meal. The critical importance of distribution after the age of 75 stems from the fact that aging muscles can only efficiently utilize approximately 35 to 40 grams of protein per sitting for synthesis purposes. Any protein consumed beyond this amount is more likely to be oxidized for energy rather than effectively employed for tissue repair. By spreading protein intake throughout the day, every gram consumed is maximized for its intended purpose. Consider James, a 78-year-old gentleman from Scottsdale, Arizona, who sought my assistance after his daughter noticed a concerning loss of nearly 18 pounds, which his previous physician had dismissed as normal age-related weight loss. This was not normal. He was losing precious muscle mass, not just fat. His grip strength, a powerful and recognized predictor of longevity in older adults, had plummeted to the bottom 15th percentile for his age group. By meticulously restructuring his meals to prioritize deliberate protein intake, a remarkable transformation occurred. After 12 weeks, James had regained 11 pounds of lean muscle mass. His grip strength had improved dramatically, placing him back in the 60th percentile for his age. He recounted, with unmistakable pride, that he had been able to carry all of his own groceries from the car for the first time in 2 years. A valuable synergistic tip is to pair your protein-rich meals with a small serving of vitamin C. This could be an orange, some bell pepper, or a splash of lemon juice. Vitamin C is indispensable for collagen synthesis, and collagen works in tandem with dietary protein to maintain not only muscle tissue, but also the integrity of connective tissues, joint cartilage, and skin. Collectively, these components are crucial determinants of how well your body holds itself together and functions optimally after the age of 75. Number 2, daily intentional social engagement. Earlier in this video, I hinted that one of the top 2 habits might be particularly surprising, and this is the one that elicits the most astonishment from people, primarily because it sounds too abstract, too emotional, to be considered a medical recommendation. However, I want to be unequivocally clear. The scientific research supporting the profound impact of social engagement on longevity in adults over 75 is not soft science. It is some of the most robust, rigorously gathered, and consistently replicable data in the field of modern gerontology. A comprehensive study from Brigham Young University, which analyzed data from over 300,000 adults across multiple decades, concluded that social isolation carries a mortality risk equivalent to that of smoking 15 cigarettes per day. Let me reiterate that for emphasis. Chronic social isolation poses as significant a threat to one's lifespan as daily smoking of 15 cigarettes. For adults exceeding the age of 75, the National Institute on Aging has identified that loneliness can accelerate cognitive decline by up to 64%, increase the risk of developing dementia by 41%, and dramatically elevate inflammatory markers in the blood, specifically interleukin-6 and C-reactive protein. These markers are known to directly inflict damage on cardiovascular tissues, impair immune function, and disrupt neural connectivity. The underlying physiological mechanism by which social interaction exerts such a profound effect operates at a deep biological level. Meaningful social interaction, distinct from passive screen time or merely being in the same room as someone while watching television, actively triggers the release of oxytocin. Oxytocin is a hormone that plays a critical role in suppressing cortisol, reducing inflammation, and activating the prefrontal cortex in ways that maintain the density and activity of neural pathways. Consider your social brain as analogous to a muscle. The neurons that activate during genuine conversation, shared laughter, engaging debates, and emotional connection are precisely the same neurons responsible for preserving your memory, your decision-making capabilities, and your very sense of self. When these neurons remain dormant for extended periods, they begin a process of pruning where unused pathways are eliminated. After the age of 75, neuroplasticity, your brain's inherent ability to forge new connections, has already diminished significantly, making the restoration of dormant pathways considerably more challenging. The prescription for this habit is not complex in its formulation, but it demands intentionality. Aim for at least one meaningful, in-person social interaction every single day. A phone call can qualify if it is genuinely engaging, as can participation in a community group, a faith-based gathering, finding a walking partner, or maintaining a regular lunch date with a neighbor. What does not contribute to this neurological benefit is passive social presence. You must be actively thinking, responding, laughing, disagreeing, and sharing. This active engagement is the essential stimulus that helps maintain the structural integrity of your brain. Dorothy, an 83-year-old woman from Charleston, South Carolina, experienced a profound withdrawal from social life following the passing of her husband of 54 years. 8 months later, her daughter brought her to see me, and by standard assessments, Dorothy's cognitive function had measurably declined in less than a year. We did not alter her medications. Instead, we meticulously constructed a social schedule for her. This included a weekly book club, a daily 20-minute phone call with a rotating list of friends, family members, and a volunteer shift twice a week at her local library. 8 months after implementing this social regimen, her cognitive scores had returned to near their previous baseline. Her inflammatory markers had significantly decreased, and her daughter reported that Dorothy seemed like herself again. Social engagement is not a mere luxury after the age of 75. It is a fundamental biological necessity. A powerful synergistic tip is to integrate physical movement with your social interactions whenever feasible. This could involve a walk with a friend, participating in a gentle exercise class alongside others, or engaging in gardening with a neighbor. Research from the University of British Columbia demonstrates that combining social interaction with even light physical activity generates a synergistic effect on BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, that is significantly more potent than either behavior pursued in isolation. BDNF essentially acts as fertilizer for your brain cells, and maximizing its production is highly desirable. Number 1. Daily Purposeful Cognitive Challenge. We have arrived at the pinnacle, the habit practiced consistently by fewer than 12% of adults over the age of 75, and a practice that researchers at Johns Hopkins have lauded as the most underutilized longevity intervention available to aging adults without the need for a prescription. This is the daily practice of engaging in purposeful cognitive challenge. I am not referring to passive activities like completing crossword puzzles or casual reading, although both possess their own merits. Instead, I'm advocating for something far more specific, more demanding, and ultimately more transformative: the consistent daily pursuit of learning something genuinely new, be it a new skill, a foreign language, a musical instrument, or a novel form of creative expression. This process is designed to deliberately push your brain into a state of productive discomfort. Herein lies the reason for its paramount importance. After the age of 75, your brain naturally begins to favor and rely more heavily on established neural pathways. It becomes exceptionally adept at performing familiar tasks and, conversely, remarkably reluctant to construct new ones. This is not a character flaw, but rather a survival mechanism, an evolutionary adaptation where an aging brain conserves metabolic energy by prioritizing the familiar. However, therein lies the critical problem. This preference for the familiar is also the very mechanism by which cognitive reserve is depleted. Cognitive reserve acts as your brain's resilience buffer, its capacity to compensate for age-related structural changes and still maintain a high level of function. Think of it as the random access memory, RAM, in a computer. The greater your cognitive reserve, the more damage your brain can absorb before you begin to experience noticeable symptoms of cognitive decline. Research from the University of Edinburgh's Lothian Birth Cohort Study, which meticulously tracked over 1,000 adults from their 70s into their late 80s, found that individuals who actively engaged in novel, challenging cognitive activities for at least 30 minutes per day exhibited a 47% slower rate of brain atrophy as observed on MRI scans. They also maintained significantly better processing speed and episodic memory, and importantly, were 38% less likely to receive a dementia diagnosis over the subsequent decade. A separate study, conducted by the Rush Memory and Aging Project, discovered that seniors who described their daily lives as intellectually engaging demonstrated brain function equivalent to adults 10 years younger on standardized neurological assessments. The underlying mechanism driving these remarkable outcomes is neuroplasticity, your brain's inherent ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections. While it is true that neuroplasticity does diminish with age, it never entirely disappears. The brain retains its remarkable capacity for meaningful structural change well into the 80s. But this potential is only realized when the brain is provided with sufficient and appropriate stimulus. Novel learning serves as precisely that stimulus. Learning a new language, for instance, activates 5 distinct regions of the brain simultaneously, and, according to studies from the American Academy of Neurology, has been shown to delay the onset of dementia by an average of 4.5 years. Similarly, learning a musical instrument engages fine motor control, auditory processing, memory, and emotional regulation in a coordinated fashion that is virtually unparalleled by other activities. Even the seemingly simpler act of learning to cook a new cuisine from scratch provides a significant cognitive challenge, as it requires reading, sequencing tasks, heightened sensory attention, and the development of motor skills. The practical implementation of this habit involves selecting one genuinely new skill every 3 to 4 months and dedicating at least 20 to 30 minutes each day to actively learning it. The key word here is actively. Simply watching someone else play guitar on YouTube does not constitute learning to play the guitar. It is the act of sitting with the instrument in your hands, grappling with chords, and persevering through challenges that yields the true neurological benefit. This struggle, this productive discomfort, is where the profound cognitive gains are realized. It is the cognitive equivalent of resistance training. The resistance itself is the essential component. Robert, a 79-year-old gentleman from Portland, Oregon, who retired after a distinguished 40-year career as a civil engineer, admitted that for the first 3 years of his retirement, he engaged in very little activity that truly challenged his mind. He sought my counsel after noticing increasing difficulty recalling names and following complex conversations. His MRI revealed age-appropriate changes. Nothing alarming, but his cognitive reserve scores were lower than I would have ideally preferred. My sole prescription for him was this: choose something he had always harbored a desire to learn and dedicate time to it daily. He opted for oil painting, an endeavor he had never attempted before. Initially, he was, by his own admission, quite terrible. 18 months later, he had completed 23 paintings, joined a local art group, which simultaneously addressed habit number 2, and his follow-up cognitive assessments indicated improvements in 3 out of 5 measured domains. This represents genuine improvement, not mere maintenance, and this at the age of 79. A highly beneficial synergistic tip is to pair your daily cognitive challenge with the intake of omega-3 fatty acids, specifically DHA. DHA is abundantly found in fatty fish, such as salmon, mackerel, and sardines, or it can be obtained through high-quality fish oil supplements. DHA is the primary structural fat component of brain cell membranes, and research from the Framingham Heart Study demonstrates that adults with higher DHA levels exhibit significantly more robust neuroplasticity responses to cognitive training. In essence, DHA acts as a facilitator, enhancing your brain's capacity to absorb and benefit from what you are learning. It is the crucial fertilizer that nourishes the seed of new knowledge. All scientific references pertaining to the information presented in this video are readily available in the description below. I strongly encourage you to review them, share them with your healthcare provider, and engage in an informed dialogue about what strategies are most appropriate for your individual circumstances. Now, allow me to conclude with a sentiment that comes from the heart. Having sat across from countless patients in the 75 to 85 age range, I understand that this particular phase of life is too often framed as a countdown to an inevitable end, rather than a continuation of a rich and evolving journey. It is not. The research I have shared with you today illuminates a profound truth that modern medicine is only beginning to fully comprehend. The body and mind at 75, at 80, and at 85 possess a remarkable and tenacious capacity for resilience. This resilience is not achieved in spite of age, but rather in an active and dynamic dialogue with it. The 6 habits we have discussed: strategic hydration, resistance-based movement, consistent sleep, deliberate protein intake, daily social connection, and purposeful cognitive challenge, are not about attempting to reverse the clock. Rather, they are about maximizing the extraordinary potential of the time that remains. They are about the ability to carry your own groceries, to recall your grandchildren's names without hesitation, to drive yourself to your own appointments, and to experience the unbridled joy of laughter with someone you cherish over dinner. This is the true essence of independence. This is the definition of quality of life. And I assure you, I have witnessed this firsthand in patients who were told that there was nothing left to optimize. It is unequivocally never too late to begin. If you have not yet subscribed to this channel, please do so immediately. Each week, I deliver research-backed, senior-specific health information that I genuinely believe can add not only years to your life, but also significant quality to those years. Click subscribe and ensure that your notification bell is activated so you do not miss a single video. And now, I am eager to hear from you. Please share your age in the comments below and tell me which of these 6 habits you feel most confident in currently and which one you are most motivated to cultivate. I will be meticulously reviewing every single response. This community is one of the most engaged and thoughtful I have ever had the privilege to be a part of, and that is entirely due to your invaluable contributions. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take excellent care of yourself because you are profoundly worth the effort.